This is the Wandering Mike.
Welcome everyone to the Wandering Mike. Today I'm here with Jacob. Hey Jacob, how you doing?
What's up? I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be here.
Nice. Looking forward to the conversation. I think it's gonna be super interesting.
Oh yeah, dude.
So to get us started,
Mhm.
if you just want to introduce yourself to the people, tell us a little bit about yourself, your life, your journey, anything you want to share.
All right. My name's Jacob. I'm from Niagara Falls, Canada, and just recently um kind of moved down here on a whim. I was just same old in Canada, working a bunch of production gigs. I'm a video editor, and so working for a bunch of small production companies just with the worst environments ever and working for bosses that just treat you like crap. And I was like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. And like, I'm 25, felt like my life was getting away from me. So I was like, all right, you know what? Time for a change. So I was looking at places to go. I was kind of thinking of like places in Europe, like England and like the UK, Germany. And as I was looking at those places, I actually just remembered, or my parents reminded me, that my sister and brother-in-law and her family live in Auckland, or Rewa,
Right.
just north of Auckland. So I was like, okay, if I travel down there and everything goes wrong, I can sleep on their couch, right? Like if
Yeah.
everything goes wrong, I at least have family there. So that kind of did it for me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. So what really like pushed it is I was working for a production company for about like a year last year, and the company was going down the gutter. They kept firing people. And
Mm.
so they just came to me one day and they're like, hey, we can't afford to pay you. We had to let you go. I was like,
Right.
oh, crap. And I was living in Toronto at the time with one of my roommates, and rent is crazy. So I was looking for a bunch of like a different job. I got a job kind of as like a sign post installer
Mm.
for, when a house is for sale, and like
Right.
the real estate agent wants to put their
Mm.
sign up. So
Mm.
I would go around and just put these up. And so driving around in a van, start early in the morning, work for about like 14 hours. And so I was doing that, and it just sucked when it was raining, snowing, and I was just freezing like my butt off. And I was like, man, I just can't do this anymore. Like, this isn't fun. And I understand, like, you got jobs sometimes where you just don't enjoy it and you just got to do it. But I was like, man, I need to change. But still, like, even doing that, I was working there because I know I had to pay rent. And then my boss, after like 2 weeks, fired me. And this dude was just a jerk and like had really unrealistic expectations. And I was trying to do my best, but he just fired me. Is like, man, you're not doing enough. And I was like, all right. So I had no money coming in, and I talked to my roommate and I was like, dude, I can't afford to stay here anymore. Like, so I moved back with my parents, packed up all my stuff. And so back to Niagara I went. And then when I got back there, that's where all the this was about, oh man, when was this? June of last year.
Like half a year.
Yeah. So that's when it all started. And that's when the thoughts were coming into my mind of, you know what, like, what if I were to travel? Like, what if I got to change of scenery? What if I just left this all behind? So I was talking with my parents and I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. So started setting everything up. And when I was looking for places, just came to the conclusion of going to New Zealand because I already have family there. They've been living here for about like 2.5 years, or they're coming up on 2 years. And so I was like, all right, I'll go there. So if everything goes down the gutter, I can live with them. And then I moved here, was staying with them, trying to find a job, couldn't find anything. And I got here in October.
Right.
So I just kind of chilled and hung out with them for a couple months. And then they ended up kicking me out of their house.
Oh, shit.
So, like, even my family was like, "Yo, bro, you gotta get out of here." And I was like, "Damn." So, they kicked me out. I had no money. Like, I still have no money. I didn't have enough to fly back to Canada, so I was stuck here. So I was like, "All right, I gotta figure something out." And I heard about Queenstown and that there was a bunch of job opportunities. So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna just spend the rest of my money, get a ticket, fly down to Queenstown, and we'll just see what happens." So I ended up flying down here about a couple weeks ago, and yeah, ended up sleeping on the side of the road for a night and just going around to a couple hostels, um, and like felt like I was at like my wits' end. I was like, man, this
Mm,
sucks. Like I can't, like I mentally don't know if I can deal with this. Like it felt like my life was just coming to an end. Um, Yeah, that one night sleeping outside, and I was, like, sleeping on twigs in a bush, and it started to rain, and it was freezing, and I was like,
right.
"Fuck." Yeah, that was bad. So that was kind of when I thought, like, I just really felt like giving up, but kept on calling places, talking to places, and I found this hostel, ended up just talking online or had a phone call with Shay and came in, little interview, little conversation, and it's like, "All right, like you can come in. We got a place to stay and you can work as like a night porter." I was like, sick. Finally a place to stay. So that was a big step. And then just recently got a gig as a landscaper. So, on the up and up from like my kind of version of rock bottom. I know people have been through way worse than me, but yeah, it just felt like everything was getting pulled, like ripped apart out of my life, and then managed to have something to build off of, like some kind of foundation. So yeah, that's kind of like the quick story of how I ended up here.
Yeah. And just to, because we just ended up here, so just to keep with that, because then I want to go into the past a little bit as well
Mhm.
and just explore these things. But you feel right now like you are kind of coming into a balance again? You found a base yet?
Yeah, I definitely feel more balance. I feel a foundation. Like I have something to build off of. When I was just kind of mindlessly walking around and I didn't feel like I could do anything because all my thought
Right.
process was trying to find a place to sleep and like getting food and whatnot. And so it was hard to even think about the future. So now that you get that secure foundation and it's like, okay, I can build off this. Like now that I got a place to stay, now that I have a job, it's like I can build off this and actually think about my future and what I want to
Right.
accomplish and what I can start setting in place for the future me that I want to be. So,
Because, yeah, that's kind of the way our brains, I mean, there's a reason for it, right? To be set up like that. If you're in that survival mode, you don't
mm,
think about much else.
exactly.
You're focused on surviving.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, to wrap up the story maybe from the beginning, because we heard a lot of things that didn't go as planned, that maybe weren't as you imagined them. But if you want to take us back to when you decided, or whenever it was, where you saw video editing, and you said, "This is something I want to pursue." So
Mm.
where did that motivation come from? Why video editing?
Oh man. Yeah, that was like I want to say grade 11 in high school. So that's high school.
Right.
So that's 2 years before college in Canada, like post-secondary, and I just loved the arts, and everyone you had to do one art, like, whether that's actual, like, drawing and painting or music or video editing, And so the first art I did was in grade 9, I think is like the first year when you had to take one. And so I was just doing drawing. That's what I thought I loved. Like I
Right.
was like, I really love drawing and this is what I want to get into. So I was already like, I was always artistic in some way. That's kind of how my brain worked and how I liked to kind of portray my thoughts in a way. Or
Mm.
it's like I have stuff in my mind and I could put it onto the page to like express myself.
Yeah.
And so that was my main way of doing that was drawing. And then as the years went by, I kind of fell out of love with drawing and I was like, I don't really like it. And then I got into videoing, like filming things, editing it together. And then from there, I graduated college or graduated high school and went into college broadcasting.
Mm.
So broadcasting, it was a 3-year program. First year was television, radio, and film.
Right.
And so you got to do like a taste of each of them, each of these fields.
Mm.
And radio is kind of dying out in a way. Like podcasts have completely taken that over. Like people don't really listen to the radio, but at the time it was still something that you would learn about in school. I don't know how it is anymore. But from there, from the first year, you could choose to go into presentation or production. So
Right.
presentation, you're in front of the camera,
Mm.
like a news anchor, like we're doing now, like a podcast host, like someone who's talking, who's presenting something, like who's the main subject of
Right.
whatever media you're doing. And then there's the production side, which is behind the scenes,
Yeah.
whether that's like a producer, director, editor, audio, whatever you're getting into. So I knew right off the bat, presentation wasn't for me.
Mm.
Like I want to be behind the scenes. I want to be putting stuff together. So I went into production, and I actually went into live TV production, and that's what I pursued for a while. And I graduated from this program at Niagara College, um, and went and worked in Toronto because that's where all the jobs were, and worked for one of the biggest production companies, like TV production companies in North America. So they do all the live production for like NHL, NBA, MLB. So all like these major sports leagues. So they would do all the Canadian teams and then also follow them around when they're doing like their American
Mm.
circuit.
Sure.
So I was kind of just doing that, setting up the trucks with camera equipment and all that and whatnot. So I kind of enjoyed that, but to get into that field, they're like, okay, you need to be here for minimum like 15 years, build all these skill sets just to break in. And
Right.
so I was just a TVA, which is a television assistant, which is where everyone starts. You got to start somewhere and you got to prove yourself. So I was a TVA doing a bunch of gigs, and there were some that were like really cool. Like I did NASCAR. Um, there's one circuit in Canada that holds like NASCAR races.
Mm.
So I went there and was with a camera operator from the States, and I was just following him around, coiling cable. I was basically a spotter, and we were on the side of like the pit where the cars would come in, and they
Yeah.
would get like their oil changed, tires changed. And whenever the cars would come, we would jump over the hurdle and like film these cars, like
Right.
as they're getting worked on and changed before they go back out. So that was like sick. There was a bunch of really cool experiences within this. We did like horse races, like the Silver Crown, which is basically, or no, not Silver Crown, Silver Plate. Silver Plate's the big race in Canada, and then the Triple Crown is the big race in the States for like horse racing.
Yeah.
So we did the Silver Plate. And so there was a lot of really cool experiences from that. And I met some people who have been in the industry for forever and got to learn from them. But as I was in it for a few years, I realized, you know what, this isn't what I want to do. Like editing is still just what I love to do. Like
Mm,
that, I love the creative freedom I have and the ability to take all these assets and these things and put them all into one like polished project, and that you can express emotions and you can make people feel any way from watching a video, right? Like you watch a video, it
yeah.
can make you cry, it can make you laugh, it can make you mad. Like you can just express any emotion through it. So I just loved the ability to be able to do that. So I left that job. I didn't I stepped down. I was like, okay, you know what? Like let them know this isn't for me. I'm gonna move on. And then got into video editing more. I got my own setup at home and just started reaching out. And then that's when I started at this like local video editing company
Right.
that it was called Most Amazing.
Most
And yeah,
amazing.
Most Amazing Productions or something like that. And they were not most amazing. They sucked. Uh yeah, they treated you like crap, man.
Mm,
And so I went there. There was about 35. So I started there and there was like 15 people that worked there, like 15 video editors. And then they had their own talent. So people who were going in there writing the scripts, which is
mm,
pretty much they just put it into a thing and let AI generate it.
right.
No one was actually writing anything. And so their whole motto was quantity over quality. So these videos that they were pumping out, they owned about 18 YouTube channels and they were pumping out shitters. Like these things sucked. And so it was such mindless work that you're just sitting in front of a camera or in front of a computer editing like just crap over and over. Like you're editing 4, 5, 6 videos a day of
Mm,
these top tens. It's like top 10, you know, dumbest haircuts in Marvel, or you're just doing the most
right.
random topics that suck. And you don't like, even if the topic interests you, they want such a quick turnaround of
Mm,
like, hey, you have to put this whole video together and export it in like an hour or like an hour and a half. And so you can't do anything cool, or you can't really put your heart into it. And it's like, oh, I want to make this really cool. Like I love this topic and I want to, really show what I'm capable of in
yeah.
editing. Right. But you don't have the time to do that because you're such a small time frame to pump it out where you can't think. You're like, all right, I just have to do the most basic things ever just to meet the time, constraints.
So
So
their business idea was actually quantity over quality.
that
That's
was
not
literally
something
it.
you made up, but that's how they viewed it. That's how they thought they would be most
Yeah,
profitable, probably, right?
that's how they thought. Like talking with the owner, like the owner was probably the only one. Man, he might not have even been making that much because I think the whole company went under. Like, so
Right.
the reason I got fired like a year later was because they couldn't afford to pay me anymore. So the company was going under.
Yeah.
Like I got hired, there was about 15 employees, and then they went from like 15 to 50 in like 2
Right.
weeks.
And
So they mass hired people. And
mm,
so they were growing, they were feeling good. And then as I was editing this and I was looking at the numbers and the statistics and the revenue they were bringing in, I was like, this sucks. Like this isn't, you can't survive off this because you guys you don't have a fan base. They were botting everything. They were
mm.
botting their YouTube, their Facebook, their Instagram, whatever, to fake like their most popular channel had like 8 million subscribers.
Oh, that
And they
sounds a
were,
lot.
so you think that's a lot. You think it's a lot, but you would go to their videos and their best videos are pulling in like 15,000 views.
Right.
15,000 views with 8 million
Right.
subscribers. So you're like, okay, they're botting everything. And it was just so stupid looking at how this company was run. And so looking at like a positive of that circumstance, I saw how not to run a business. So
Yeah.
even in those like these situations of working there and then working for this whatever, like sign rental company, like
Mm,
in working under these bosses, I found out how not to do things. Like this isn't the recipe you need for success in this industry. Like they're not making it work. So you look at what they're doing, the formula that they created for themselves, and it's like, okay, how can I take that and actually make it work? If I were to go and make my own production company, how would I make it
yeah,
work? Right. So as much as it sucked, I learned from it. You learn from everything you do. And I can look at the past 5 years of my life and very easily focus on pain of like, oh, they just sucked. Like
mm,
the last 5 years of my life just sucked. But through that, it's like the man I am right now, if it wasn't for those last 5 years, I wouldn't be this man. Like
yeah,
in high school, I was extremely introverted. Like
sure.
wouldn't talk to people. Like I was so nervous. I remember I had a friend in my small town, and he would invite me over to his house, and I would like throw up
Oh, wow.
because I was like, I don't want to go over. Like I
Mm,
can't. And I would walk over to his house all the way there, stand outside, walk back home, and tell my parents, "It's like, are you sure that he invited me? Like, are you sure I'm supposed to be there?"
mm,
Like
mm,
I would overthink things. I would second guess things. I would throw up because I was so nervous. So I went from like an extreme introvert to when I graduated high school, it was like boom. Like into college, I was like, okay, you know what? Like this isn't how you're supposed to live life. And so when I got to college, I was like, man, I'm gonna be the class clown. Like I don't
right.
care. Like people will make fun of me. They'll mess around, like whatever. But I don't. Life's too short to be hiding in a corner and feeling bad for yourself. And it's like, oh, boo hoo. No one will like me. It's like, oh, well, who cares? Like, who cares what they think? Just
Exactly.
go out, be you, and chase things and learn from your mistakes. Because if you never have mistakes, you'll never learn from it. Um, Mistakes in the toughest times is what makes like the strongest people. And so I would not be the man I am today if it wasn't for this like hell that I've been through in my perspective, because I know that people go through way, way, way worse than me. But I just know from what I've gone through, it has shaped me into the man I am.
Yeah, it's like you've said, like even these failures and these stints of your life that if you maybe look at them isolated, didn't result in anything, obviously resulted in something,
Yeah.
and adding up to everything that you have learned sitting
Hmm.
here today. Um, so going back to the production company, I just want to put a thought in there. So you think it wasn't just maybe the timing, maybe it was trends and stuff that just um basically it wasn't a good time for production companies in general. Was it like this specific company where you definitely saw, okay, there was stuff going on that definitely, like you said, you would be able to do better and
Hmm.
that you learned from.
This specific company.
Right.
So the research I've done and going into YouTube and trying to do it myself and streaming, and I felt like like hindsight's 2020, but I feel like I could have made that work if I actually stuck with it.
Mm,
But looking at it, what are the people that you like to watch, right? Like when you look at your YouTube streaming, the people that you can like that you enjoy watching are the people you can connect with,
yes.
right? You actually connect with the content creator. And you're like, "Oh, I like watching this person. We have similar interests and they're really funny, the way that they do storytelling, but you're actually connecting with them." So the stuff that they were making, you don't connect with.
Yeah.
There is a host there, but it's like they're behind a wall.
Mm,
You're not actually there's nothing there. It's like, okay, coming in at number 7, like
mm,
cucumber. Like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
brain dead top 10 videos, right? So the way that this company was doing it is that there is no soul. There's no identity. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing where it's like, this is why I come back. Like, why would you come back? If
Yeah.
you saw the video and it's like, okay, I want to watch like top 10, whatever, like top 10 animes. And it's like, I like anime, and you watch it. There's nothing to keep you coming back. People are going to click out after number 10. They're like, the pacing sucks. This is
Mm.
boring. It's long. It drags on. And there is nothing here for me to latch onto. And then you look at like the most popular, like, creators out there right now, and you see that the reason they're succeeding is because they are like, they're the identity. Everything, their business, their foundation, like everything is built off them, right? So people come back, and it's like they can be playing a different video game. They're in a different place. They're doing a
Mhm.
different live stream. And so things like the external, like just externally, things change in every video. But the thing that stays the same is them.
Yes.
And that's why people come back, because it's like, I want to watch this guy or this girl, like, because I'm invested in them and I like them. And it doesn't matter what they're doing, because I find them entertaining no matter what they do. And so that's what keeps people coming back, is you have that source of, like that pillar that always keeps people coming back. And so this company didn't have that. They had a algorithm, or not an algorithm, a formula.
Right.
They had a formula, the top 10 formula, but they had nothing keeping people coming back. Like, why would you subscribe to the channel?
Yeah.
You see a video that kind of interests you, you click on it, you watch it, you move on with your life. There is nothing to keep you coming back. And so that's what I think was the major aspect for what they did wrong. They didn't understand um, that side, like that it's a human being that's watching this.
Yeah.
And that's also, this is like a completely different tangent, but AI, like editing, AI videos, voices, I don't like, it's exploding, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere personally, because being in this industry and being an editor, people connect with emotion.
Mm.
Like, people connect with people. And when you're staring at this soulless thing that is trying to it could entertain you for a little while, but you will not connect with it. You can't connect with some soulless, you know, YouTube channel or icon or whatever. It could work for a little while, but I think people are gonna, as AI gets bigger, people are gonna realize, wait, like, we're missing something. Like, I feel empty. Why when I watch this channel, do I feel empty on the inside? I'm not like, I laugh, but I don't really feel anything. And then they'll go back to what they felt before, and when you could actually connect with someone.
Yes, that's definitely what I hope for as well. I don't know too much about AI to actually make an informed guess, but
Hmm.
I would just hope, and that's been my point on the topic as well, is that you can um like AI can create creativity. It can, like, if you tell it how to do something, it might be, like you said, good at editing videos to an extent, but it can never, like, it can edit the video because you told it to edit the video, but there's
Hmm.
nothing behind it. It doesn't,
No.
oh, I'm doing it this way because I want to impose fear, for example. No, there's nothing creative about it. It's
Hmm.
just producing, like a factory. It's
Yeah.
just a factory producing videos, and that's why I think, and I really hope that AI can never really replace human creativity.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think, man, I don't think an AI would ever be able to replace what I would be able to do. And just because it's about the human emotion and what I can portray through a video, an AI right now, it just couldn't do that. And I don't know where we're going, man. Like maybe it gets so like realistic that it knows how to express human emotion, like to a T. And maybe we'll get there. I have no idea. But right now, no,
No.
it can't. And people need that. It doesn't matter. Like on the outside, you can pretend like you're the strongest human being ever and you're stone cold, but everyone has emotion. Everyone needs that. And you can pretend like in it, like you can ignore it, but that doesn't, like, you will have that emptiness inside you. And I think that's what everyone struggles with. But they just on the outside, like whether like you're an influencer on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, they're all like deep down depressed. Like so many people are depressed. And it's because
Yeah.
of that lack of like authenticity in their life, and they don't have connections. Because you can have 5 million followers, but no real friends. Like you have no one at like 2 a.m. and you can't sleep and you pick up your phone and you're like, and you have no one to call. Like,
Yeah. None of those 5 million people would pick up.
no, they're not picking up. They don't care. But imagine you had like 3 friends, right? Where you could pick up the phone and it's like, yo, dude, I'm not doing too well. And they're like, all
Yeah.
right, man, let's talk. Like no matter when, like 3 a.m., you're down in the dumps, you pick up, or even you hop online and you start playing video games in a group chat with like 3 of your buddies. Like those are like that's like better than a counselor, man. Those times, like in a group chat playing video games,
Definitely.
man, that's when you just open up about all your problems with your boys. But yeah, people, they need that.
Do you think, because the anecdote that you told us about the production company also gives me hope a little bit, in as what you were saying, that authenticity is still something people deep down long for,
Mhm.
and eventually companies like that won't even be profitable, so they will not continue doing their content. But just the sheer amount of companies that are doing that, that are just throwing money in that they obviously have and just creating these quantity over quality content.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's disencouraging people that have that vision that we talked about, that are trying to, with just a friend in their garage, start
Yeah.
things up? Do you feel like, yeah, people like that are just discouraged of like sticking to projects like that?
Yes. I think, one, they are discouraged, but two, like I don't think they should be.
Yeah.
It should encourage them because you look and you're like, look at all this crap.
Yeah.
And then if you're starting with your buddy in your garage, you're like, man, we could do so much better than this. And so I think people are getting discouraged, but they shouldn't be. It should be something that just fires you up.
Mm.
You look at all this crap that's getting pumped out and you're like, man, I can do so much better than that. Like that, like I know what people want. And you go out there, and the first year you do it, no one's going to know who you are. You're going to do it as like, maybe you get into the algorithm and you get lucky. That happens. But like 99.9% of the time you get into it, and the discouragement is going to come with not seeing progress over a long period of time.
Mm.
That's where it's going to come. And over a year, let's say like you start a YouTube channel and it's like, okay, like there's 52 weeks in a year and I'm going to create a video once a week.
Right.
So 52 videos. And from each video, you create a YouTube video, longer form. From that YouTube video, you create a short,
Mm.
the YouTube short. So it's like, okay, I have 52 YouTube videos, 52 shorts. And from the shorts, that's the same format. You take those, you post them on TikTok.
Right.
And then now from 52 shorts, you have 52 TikToks. And then from the TikTok, you can take those, turn them into 4:3 resolution, and then put them on Instagram. And so from those TikToks, you have 52 like posts on Instagram. So you just start there. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to make any progress in week 1 or week 2 or week 10 or week 20, but I'm going to do it for a year.
Yeah.
Like no matter what happens, no matter my views, no matter traction, you do it for a year, and every single week you make a video and you learn like one thing you want to improve from everything you do. So first week you make that, you have 4 pieces of content from it. And it's like, okay, I was kind of reserved. I was playing the video game, recording my gameplay, and I was really reserved. I don't
Mhm.
really think people would find that entertaining. So week
Right.
2, the video you do, it's like, okay, I'm just going to try and be way more out there. And then it's like, okay, my editing, my pacing is really slow. So week 3, I'm going to make it way quicker. And so from every single week, you take one thing that you want to improve upon and you just stick with it. You don't even look at the numbers. You don't look
Mm.
at how well it's doing. You just immediately think all these videos, no one's going to watch them, but I'm doing it because I love it and I'm going to improve myself and my brand. And so you just do it for a year and see where you're at and reevaluate at the end of a year.
Something interesting and important that I thought I heard from what you just said is when you're talking about you're improving one thing, you're basically talking about in your perception. You're not
Hmm.
talking about external feedback, but you're basically making a better product that you like. So
Yep.
that's where the authenticity comes in again,
Mhm.
right? So just improving it for yourself
Yep.
every single time.
100%. Because you then attract people that are interested in what you're interested in, right? Like you're
Yeah.
creating videos that entertain you. And
Yeah.
so when you post it out there, there are going to be people that are like you that get entertained like you. And they're going to come along and it's like, oh, I really like this. Like I enjoy this.
Mm.
And so you start like a small group. And even if you look at it like this is a place where I can post content and make friends, right?
Mhm.
Like even after a year, let's say you make 100, you get 100 subscribers
Yeah.
and 100 people that always come back to watch your videos and that you chat with, and you can invite them into a Discord server. And then now you have a community,
Yeah.
right? You started with nothing. You created 52 pieces of content. You improved on each one and you built a small community that you can go into. And then from there, you can talk to them of people who all they enjoyed what you were making. And then you can ask them, hey, how can I improve? Because imagine from like your mind, you made like 52 pieces of content and you improved on each one. And then from there, you go and you talk to like 100 other people who aren't you, who don't have the same thought process as you.
Mm.
And you ask each of them, hey, can you give me one piece of advice? Like one thing I should improve. When you
Mm.
watch my videos, what's one thing I can improve upon? And just like that, you have 100 people who enjoy what you're doing and who have
Mm.
stuck around and who actually care that you're succeeding and that
Sure.
you're like making progress. And they're like, oh, hey, yeah, like here's what I saw. You could, change the contrast of your videos, the coloring, the thumbnail, whatever they come up with. But then you have 100 other brains that come together, and it like you make so much more progress than just you. There's only
Yeah.
so much one human being can do, right? You need to work with other people and bounce off other people.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I experience as well. I don't think that I'm at a limit yet, but just producing content and editing said content, trying to promote said content via various platforms, it does take time, and it's
Hmm.
for something that you enjoy and that is a passion of yours. It still is a lot of work. So
Exactly.
it is, and especially when we're talking about periods of 1, 2, 3, 5 years, who knows where it might not pay out. Maybe you don't have those 100 subscribers after a year. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't have them after 2 years.
Yep.
And just sticking with all the work for your passion, yeah, maybe that can also be discouraging.
Hmm.
And yeah, so but that's when you were saying you will eventually, if you just do things that you like, meet people that might want to jump in there with you. And
Hmm.
then so yeah, that was the original thought where I was like, maybe an endeavor like that is too much for one person.
Yeah.
It's always better to have multiple brains to, yeah, kind of jump ideas off of and
Yeah.
basically do these things.
100%. 100%. Like there are so many people that made it in a bunch of different spheres, whether it's YouTube or just like the business world, like the automobile industry, like Elon Musk, and you have like these brilliant people, but they didn't start like by themselves. They had other minds, other people that they could bounce ideas off of. Everyone did. No one created something just like from nothing and did it all on their own. They could have like there's a lot of people that did a lot in a lot of heavy lifting all on their own,
Mm.
but there are people like there's no successful company in the world that has one person. Like there's
Yeah,
the owner that created it. They have no employees, no nothing, no co-owner, like no vice president. Like you have people. You need people. You need to build a group into like that's what's part of a successful business is you need people around you and people to encourage you because you might be pursuing something and you love it, but you're going to have down days. You're going to wake up and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like maybe this isn't me. Maybe I'm not good enough. And then you have that group around you. It's like, no, you can do it. Yeah. I know you're down right now, but get back up. You can do it. Just keep pushing. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt, but keep doing it. And so you need those people around you that just encourage you when everything just hits the crapper. You're like, okay, I can do this. And so that's what I would say that like community and that tight knit group is more important than anything else because that's what's going to keep you going when the world says you can't. When people who are watching your videos or who see like the prototype of the product that you're developing, they're like, this is stupid. Like you're stupid. Why would you do this? They listen to your podcast and it's like, this is dumb. This is boring. And so you hear people like that. You need that tight knit group who's like, don't listen to them. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep doing it. We're not
yeah,
doing it for them. We're doing it for someone else who will actually appreciate this and enjoy it. And so, yeah, I think that community is what's going to keep you going. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short is because they have this false sense that they can do everything on their own. And I don't know where that came from. And you see like social media and the world and the whole like uh narrative is you need to do it on your own. Like you're the best, you can do everything.
yeah,
And if you get help from people or you lean on someone or you open up to someone, you're weak. And it's
right,
like, that's BS.
yeah,
No, you need to lean on people. You need to open up to people and you need people that you can trust. Like no one is making it on their own. It's not happening. You need people that are there for you no matter what. And so, yeah.
yeah. That whole narrative, but I mean, it is still prominent, and
Hmm.
I obviously heard it and was definitely influenced by it as well. But yeah, it is a weird one. Why do we think we have to make it on
Yeah.
our own? Because isn't that the beautiful thing about being human? Is
Hmm.
that we are all social people and we all like strive to connect. So
Exactly.
why would we take that away from ourselves by saying I have to do it
Mm,
on my own. It's yeah, in my mind that definitely does not make sense.
yeah.
Um, Another interesting thing that just came to my mind, and I don't know if I can articulate it the way I want to, but when you were talking about big companies as well, I feel like in your story, we also have an example there when you started for the live TV broadcasting company.
Mhm.
Um, I just, in my romanticizing ideal mind, thought maybe that was just one guy one day saying, "Oh, I like to film my buddies play soccer." And it developed into this huge company. Um, do you feel like at some scale, it just gets really hard to like keep that spirit of like this is something I authentically want to do, and it just gets so big, and then you have people that start there and basically have, like you said, that feeling of, well, I'm never gonna break through anyway. I don't feel really recognized because I'm pretty sure maybe that's not what he originally intended, and the
Mhm.
company just got so big. You feel like that's maybe just a side effect of like once you're at some scale, where it's just too big.
Yeah, 100%. Like, they're massive. I think their, like, net worth is around, like, 1.5 to 2 billion. So they make a lot of money. Like, and they're massive. They have hundreds and hundreds of employees. And so at that scale, the president and vice president, so, like, the people, like, the owner and the person below him, I never met them. 'Cause it like, they're it's so big. Like,
Yeah,
I'm starting at the bottom, they're at the very top, so it's unrealistic for me to think that they are gonna know me and they're gonna care.
yeah,
That's unrealistic, but when they have a responsibility of who they hire, and so they're at the top, and they pick who is right below them, and they hire them, and then those people hire people below them, and you make this chain. And so if you are really like meticulous of who you hire and they need these qualifications, then it's it's about like your boss, like the person who's in charge of you, your supervisor. If they care, like they care about you, they encourage you, that's what's going to keep you going.
right.
And so it's too big of a company for like I do not expect people like to like everyone to care about me and what I'm doing, in my opinion. That's unrealistic. But I do think they have a responsibility in that. Like I think the the whole trope that your company's so big that everyone's just a number,
Mm,
I think that's a joke. Like I think you created it like that
right.
everyone's just a number. If you from the start make it that people's opinions in your company matter and that you are seen and that will actually make you feel like you belong here, then you can keep that. Then because when you go to interview people, it's like, hey, we're going to interview you to be to supervise this project. And this, we have a warehouse in X location and you're going to run it. And so in their questions they ask, they're like, how do you treat people? How are you able to manage a group? Like
Mm,
are these people just numbers to you? Or are you actually going to get to know them and know them by name and understand that they're human beings with families and other responsibilities? And so I think they have a responsibility in that 100%. But a lot of companies just neglect that. They're like, we want money, and so we're like, they just don't care. Um, so yeah, on one side, I completely understand how big they are, but I think that you have a responsibility in the way that you develop your company. And if you want it a certain way, then you can make it that way. But the owner of this company, this TV production company, would have had to if he wanted to make sure that people felt like they belonged and that they were welcome there, then you probably make less money,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so people get greedy. And they're like, well, we want to be worth $2 billion, not 1.5.
Mhm.
We want that extra 500 million. And they want more. So if you get greedy, then you're going to get selfish. And when you get selfish, you're going to stop thinking about other people. And then people are just going to be a number on a spreadsheet. And they're not going to, then it's going to be mindless work. You're going to be like a robot. And it's like, what the heck am I even doing with my life? And so that's what I felt like there. But looking at it structure wise, you have an influence in that. I don't think the person who started this company ever imagined it being this big.
Mhm.
And so maybe is a kind-hearted person. Like maybe he created it and it just got so big and he tries to manage it and look at the people and the quality of person that they're hiring. But yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've never been a boss. Like I've never been I at that one company I worked at, that editing company, I was a manager at
Right.
one point. So they did what when the company was growing a lot, I was one of the first they hired. So like after 3 weeks, I was managing like 12 other editors.
Oh, true.
And so I did have that responsibility to manage people. And I was talking to my dad who has like he's been, a boss in his company for like a really long time. He's retired now, but I was talking with him and I was like, "Hey, how do you manage people? Like
Mm.
what should I do?" And so he told me, which I practiced and went in there, and every single person that was under me, I went and I called in like a one-on-one with them.
Yeah.
And I sat down, I talked with them and I said, "Hey, here's what I'm expecting from you. What do you expect from me?"
Mm.
Right? As your like boss. Like I use
Yeah.
that term lightly, because wasn't really their boss. But it's like, what do you expect from me?
Yeah.
Because here's what I'm expecting from you, but what do you expect from me? And so that like I was giving them a voice of like, hey, like your opinion matters. And
Yeah.
so what do you want from me? What are your expectations coming into work every day? Um, and what can I do for you to make your job easier? And so I have never like I learned that from my dad and I implemented it. But any other job I've ever worked for, I've never heard that from any boss, any manager, nothing. Of like, here's what I expect from you,
What?
but what do you expect from me? Like that relationship, that back and forth, it's always here's what you need to do it. I don't want to hear you complain. I don't want to no questions, no nothing, do it. And so it's
Yeah.
like everyone is talking down at you. But that practice of sitting next to someone and talking to them, you're not talking down to them. You're talking face to face. And it's like, hey, what do you expect from me? As someone who's in charge. But yeah, so I thought that was massively important. And I know that companies get really big, but it's like the foundation of a house. If you mess up on the foundation of a house, you build it all up and you have like the best people there. Like you hire a bunch of people and they're really good at their job and laying concrete and whatever, walls and the roof and insulation. But the guy who put the foundation in doesn't know what he's doing.
Mm.
And then like a couple months later, a storm comes and the whole house gets knocked down. That doesn't matter how good everything else is,
Yeah.
right? If the foundation sucks, then everything else is going to come down with it. And so that's the exact same of this company this massive TV production company I work for. I don't know how it started. Like this guy, I don't know if it blew up really fast. Like I don't know the pacing of everything, but I do know he had a say in how it went.
Right.
He started it.
Yeah.
And so he has a say in the quality of people that he brings in and to keep them in check and to make people feel like they're actually seen and heard and human beings. And so I think that's really important in a company.
And yeah, like you said, it has to start at the top because that's when it goes down.
Mhm.
Because um, the last company I worked for was also very huge in scale. It was like a call center. They call themselves a contact center now, which sounds more fancy, I guess. But it's basically this huge international call center in Lisbon that has like 60 plus languages. So like a lot of markets, a lot of brands that they do customer support for. And I wasn't in management. I was in the training department. So training the people coming in, training
Mm,
them on the software, on the skills, um, which also gave me a good like view into HR. So I kind of see how they're trying to, because the things that we talked about as well with trying to give everyone a voice, I kind of saw how these instruments were developed, how there was like feedback that was asked for virtually, like emails were sent out. But then just because of the scale again, like who would ever read them? Like
yeah.
it's not like you read them like a person reads them, but it's multiple choice, it's data, it's getting analyzed, and something that is, um, yeah, that has the purpose of being human in a way, just because of the scale of it,
Mm,
can be at the end. Um, so my point being though is that as a trainer, I basically was the first point of contact with the new people, the new hires coming into the company, and having been there for 3 years, I also saw some of the people that I trained actually becoming supervisors eventually.
mm,
And basically, that's where the new people, the motivated people start, right? You start right at the bottom of this whole thing.
yep.
So even if you, having worked there and being sympathetic to the people around you, you become a supervisor and maybe you are motivated and maybe you try an approach like the one that you described, where you're like peer to peer, like same level. The guy that is above you, he has already been there for 10 years and he has a guy above him who
Yep.
talks down on him. So he starts talking down on you. And then
Yep.
I saw people getting discouraged and then they adapted that same manner to their people. And yeah, it's just like you said, it's the whole thing from the bottom up. And it's, yeah, they start from the top to hire people and really keep telling them,
Mhm.
hey, this is the manner of doing people. The people at the bottom that are motivated, that come in and they don't come into, I'm your boss now.
Mhm.
No, they really step into that role because they think they can do something positive.
Yep.
And then, yeah, you just see how all that energy and motivation like gets destroyed in a couple of months.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not very nice.
Yeah. I actually love that though. What you were saying, because there was a girl who came and worked at this TV production company in the warehouse when I was working there. And I've been working there for a little while, like 3 months. And so she came in, and it's also where, okay, the employers have a responsibility of like in a say in how they treat their employees, but the employees also have a say in how they approach their employers.
Hmm.
And so she came in and she was super motivated.
Right.
She came in at the very bottom, like where I was, and she was like, I want to be an engineer. Like, I'm going to be an engineer on one of these trucks. And these trucks that go around, it's a whole like mini studio in the truck. And
Hmm.
they do all the cutting and everything from a truck. So each one of them costs about like $20 million per truck. So these things are like kitted. And so to be an E1, there's an E1 and an E2. So engineer one, engineer two. Engineer one is like the main guy, and then engineer two works under the E1. Um, so that's what she wanted to do. And so she came in, and after 5 weeks, she was an E2,
Oh, wow.
and she passed me. And so I saw her, and I wasn't jealous at all. I was just impressed because it changed my whole perspective in being assertive and in a respectful way. That it not like approaching them being like, "Hey, I'm the best. Like you guys are idiots for not promoting me." Right? Like you
Yeah.
don't approach them like that. But I saw how she did it. Like she kept her head down. She worked her butt off. But after hours, after the 9 to 5, she would go and she would go up to other engineers and be like, "Hey, how do you do that? Like, can I just
Mm,
shadow you? Can I go in the truck? Can I learn how this works?" So she showed interest, and she would just stay there hours after her shift ended. She's
mm,
not getting paid, but she's putting in work.
yeah.
And so everyone notices that. And then when an opportunity opens up like 5 weeks later, they're like, "Oh man, we need another E2." They're like, "Oh, this girl, she's been showing initiative and she seems to really like, love doing this and understands how it works. And she's staying here late and showing up early." And so when they went to go promote someone, they're like, "Hey, you're up." And so I saw that and I was like, okay, yeah, there's something here. Like that I myself, even I have a responsibility of what I want. Like if for whatever I want, I need to put the effort in to get there. And I like, even if my company doesn't treat me well, I can treat them well. Like I can treat my bosses well. I can treat my coworkers well. I have a responsibility in how I treat people. And that will help you stick out. Like if you show up, you're running a 9 to 5. You show up to work at 8 and you leave at like 8, 7, 8. You're there 12 hours
Mm,
and everyone else is there 8 and they leave early. Cause they're like, man, I'm going home. It's rush hour. I'm going to be stuck in traffic. I'm leaving. And you're just there sweeping things up, cleaning things.
yeah.
People will notice you. And so, yeah, just as much as, you know, I'm I can complain and look at how a company is run, and it's like, "Oh, they're not giving me opportunities and they just look down on me and they're, the and you just get upset at that. I also have a say in what I get. And so I can flip that and it's like, "All right, you know what? They may look at me like a number and they don't care, but I can put in the work and I can take interest in what they're doing and make sure that I stand out by my work ethic and my attitude." Attitude's a big one because
Yeah.
everyone's attitude sucks nowadays. And they show up to work and they're like, "I don't even want to be here. I just want a coffee. I want to go home." And everyone's just complaining. So if you're the one guy that doesn't complain, man, you
You're
stick
ready.
out. And
Yeah.
like you're staying there late and you're working hard. Yeah, you like all these things like add up to helping you stick out to the higher ups. So that was a cool little story I had, like an experience of seeing someone come in and just like fly up just because of their attitude and their work ethic. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's very similar to what we discussed with just the more creative content creation kind of things. I
Hmm.
feel like you can definitely portray that onto companies as well because, like you said, maybe there's even two types of people, which I, to an extent, also understand. Like, if there's this person who says, "Well, I'm at the bottom of the hierarchy. I don't have any responsibilities. I'm fine with that. I do my minimum work. They don't fire me. Like, I'm fine with that." I understand that to a degree because
Hmm.
if that's what you strive for, you get by that way. That's fine. But if you're in there to really achieve something, um, and you put in the energy, and maybe again the opportunity doesn't come up after 5 weeks, you do it because you really care about it and you
Mhm.
do it. And then if it comes up after 3 months, there you are.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah, like you said, it's that really sticking with whatever we really want. So once you discover what it is that you're passionate for, that you're just set your goal for at the moment, you have that, and then you work towards that.
Yeah.
And you just, like you said, I love that. Just concentrate on yourself and look what I put out. And then eventually the other people will come to you. Don't disturb those people. Like keep your head down, worry about yourself. Don't try and tell everyone, hey, I'm the best, you
Yeah.
need me. Do your thing and the people will come.
Yep. They'll notice. Everyone will always like looking at every company I've worked for and coworkers. The first thing I notice about them is their attitude. It's the first thing. No matter where you work, you notice how someone carries himself. Because like any place you work at, if there's a guy who always complains, you know who they are. Like
Yeah.
in the lunchroom, or like you know who the guy is who complains all the time. And then you also know who the person is who makes a crappy situation into something positive. They turn it.
Yeah.
And the same goes with work ethic. Not just attitude, but work ethic. You see the people who are putting in the work. You know exactly who they are. And even like sometimes it happens almost subconsciously where you're just going through the motions, you're doing your thing, but you like without even realizing, like I remember like this girl and other people, I like showing up to work and they're already there
Hmm.
and then leaving work and they're still there. So like
Right.
that's a subconscious, like you're not really paying attention to it, but you like when you think back on it, you're like, wait, she's always working.
Hmm.
Like she's working way more than me. Like she's outworking me. And so even in those moments, you might not realize it, but then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, no, I see why. Like everyone sees it. Like I see why they promoted her.
Yeah.
It's because it's those little things that you may be blind to at first, but it does stand out. How your attitude and your work ethic, I think, are the two most important things. And there is no like education that will teach you those things. Those are disciplines that you yourself need to develop. And so, from someone who sucked at school
Mhm.
and didn't do well in high school and college, um, that I love that because going into these companies, uh, I've found a way to get noticed and to get promoted in some circumstances. And it was strictly off of my work ethic and my attitude and nothing else. They like when you get into the thick of it, they don't care about your education.
Right.
They don't care where you went to school. They don't care who you know. When you're there, they just care about how hard does this guy work and what's his attitude towards said work and other employees, like his coworkers. How does he treat his coworkers? How does he treat the work that he does? Always got a smile on his face. He's always making jokes, but he's getting the work done. He's here before everyone else. He leaves after everyone else has gone home. Like you notice those things. And so that is something that I tried to implement a few times and I think I did successfully, but also it's hard to keep doing it. When you're working for a company or you're working at a job that you don't like. It's like I don't
Right.
want to be here and no one treats me well and this isn't what I thought of my life and this isn't a dream of mine. But even in those moments when you're working somewhere that you hate and you still bring a positive attitude and you still outwork everyone around you, then that's invaluable. Like that is what makes or breaks someone who has the possibility to succeed is when you're doing something you hate and you still have the best attitude out of everyone around you.
Yeah. And that is super hard because
Mm.
I can definitely tell you from experience that I struggled and failed with that here in New Zealand because when I was in Christchurch and I was working at the other hostel over there, the jailhouse accommodation, um, I had a similar roster to here, meaning I had a substantial amount of days off every week.
Mm.
So for 4 months, I found a second job because I had a why. The why was I just needed money to save up for my future travels.
Yep.
So I said for the next 4 months, I'm gonna work these two jobs. Basically, didn't have any days off during those times, except the few days that I obviously was actually sick.
Mm.
Didn't just call in sick. So yeah, on paper, no real days off, and um, the work was at a pasta factory, which was very monotonous work, and I knew I mean, I was there, I did the work, but I know for a fact that I didn't do it with a smile on my face. And I know it
Mm.
for a fact that I didn't do it with 100% of my energy,
Mm.
more like 30, 40, and they would still leave me alone.
Mm.
So that is so hard because even if you know it is only for 4 months, I have a reason to do it. Really, then exceeding yeah, I wasn't able to do it at that
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
It's so hard, man. Like the amount I have not done it a lot because, yeah, I've seen people who have done it, and there have been moments that I have put in that extra mile, put in that extra work, but to do it over and over and over and over again, man, it gets exhausting and it's tough. But you almost have to find an external motivation to do it.
Mm.
Like you're doing it for yourself, you know?
Right.
Like, because the only person that's gonna be there when everything, we'll say, like at the end of the day and everything shuts off, like there's no one else around and it's just you, right? Like that's the person who's constantly just always gonna be there. It's you.
Yeah.
And so you almost need to try to impress yourself, right? And at the end of
Yeah.
every day, you're looking in the mirror and it's like, I did that. Like, look
Yeah.
at what I did today. And so it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks, your boss, your coworkers, your friends, they could all be clowning you. Dude, you're an idiot. Why are you still working there? And you have a bigger plan in your mind. You're like, this is what I want. And this is what I'm shooting towards. And this is a stepping stone to get there. And you can look in the mirror and it's like, I'm proud of myself. I put in the extra mile today. I'm proud. And so if you can keep that up, which is way easier said than done, because there are days that you're just like, you just hate yourself. And there are days that you just don't want to get out of bed and you don't want to go to work and you just want to get home and drink. And you're like, man, everything sucks. And that's pretty much been my last 5 years of life. It's just like everything sucks. But even in that, trying to find, you know, like reshape my attitude and being able to look at the positive and being like, hey, like I got a job, I got a place to stay. Like that's really good. And just building off of that. But it can be a battle.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely an important thing to cultivate. And then hopefully, if you did it long enough, it becomes easier. But yeah, it's just kind of sad that it has to be hard like that. That
Mm,
people will, rather than saying, "Oh wow, you put in that extra mile, good on you," they say like, "Why did you put on the extra mile? You get paid the same as I do anyway." And they're trying to
yeah.
kind of discourage you, and you, like you said, you have to be that person for yourself.
Yep.
So, um, I just feel like maybe your environment could sometimes make it a little bit easier for you as well.
Hmm.
Not as hard as it is initially, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's like holding yourself accountable and saying, I don't care about what everyone else says. I do it. For me, I know why I do it. And even if it doesn't make sense to anyone around me, I do it because I owe it to myself.
Yep. Yeah. Man, that is something that is so difficult is people and, people you work with that pull you down to bring themselves up. It's because you're going the extra mile. You're trying. You're putting your neck out there, not knowing if anything will work out. And they look at you and they're like, dude, why are you doing that? Because they're not doing it. And they deep down, they feel bad. Cause it's like, oh man, I'm not doing that. Like I'm just
Mhm.
doing my 9 to 5. I go home, I get drunk. I don't, you know, I'm not worrying about anything. I got debt. And so they have all these things that they're struggling with and they're not taking initiative. So when someone else who's in their same spot as them
Mhm.
tries to step out, it's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing there? Like, hey,
Yeah.
get back here. No,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you're coming from where I'm coming from. We don't get a say in this. We don't get to be anything. And so they try to bring you down. It's like a weed who like, you're a plant and you're trying to grow up and the weeds come and like surround you and try to suck all the energy out of you. And so you have these people who you view as friends in your life, just because you work with them every day and you think they're cool. And then, but deep down, they're weeds in your life. When you try to stand out and it's like, I'm going to do this and I have a dream and I'm going to put in the extra work for it. They're like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, you don't know how dumb you sound. That won't ever work. Like, that people who work here, we don't amount to anything. And so they
Yeah.
try to plant these seeds of doubt in your mind because they're not doing anything. They're not striving for anything. So when you start to, they pull you down. And so it's tough. It's really tough. And having that self awareness of realizing, like the ability to realize when someone isn't actually like your friends, like they don't
Right.
actually care about you and what's best for you. They, you just think that they're your friend because, they laugh at your jokes and you just hang out with them every day. But you like having that self awareness to be like, okay, like a true friend is when you're striving to do something, they're going to encourage you in that. Like, period. Like, no ifs, ands, buts. Like, I'm going to pursue this and they will encourage you in it, but also question you in a good way. Not question
Yeah.
you in like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing that? But be like, okay, what's your plan?
Like productive
Yeah.
questioning it. Yeah.
Productive questioning, a way that's going to make you better. It's like, I want to start a podcast. Okay. What's your plan? How are you going
Yeah.
to do it? Not saying like, dude, you can't do that, but saying, okay,
So how are
so
you gonna
yeah,
go
yeah,
at
how are
it?
you going to execute?
Yeah.
And like, if this is something you really want to do, I'll back you up, but just think about it. Because those are
Yeah.
things that there was a bunch of things I thought of and a very like sporadic thinker. So it's like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. Oh, I want to be a live streamer, like all these things back in high school. And it's like, this is what I want to do with my life. And my parents wouldn't shut it down, but they'd be like, okay, how are you going to do it?
Huh.
Like just think about it. And if you pursue this, if this is something you want, we'll back you 100%. But just think about it. Think about how you're going to execute it. You need structure. And so what in the moment I might have like a few of these times thought my parents were like weren't supportive, but
Mhm.
looking back, they were 100% supportive. Those are the people that they question you to make you better. They don't
Yeah.
question you to make you feel like you're an idiot and inadequate. They're like, okay, like I fully believe you can do this, but how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Because there's also these types of, and I think they are actually more like your friends that are trying to support your uh in their own way, basically saying, oh, maybe you're out every night with them drinking, but you're saying, oh yeah, I have this dream, I'll make it, and they just be like, oh yeah, of course you will, rather than, yes, but how are you going to do it? Maybe we shouldn't
Mm,
go out every day, because these people are your friends. They kind of love hanging out with you. And they say, yeah, good on you for dreaming, but they kind of never push you towards more than there actually is. If they see, oh, well, you've been talking about this for 3 months, like, did you put a plan in action?
Yeah.
They always just say, yeah, cool, good on you. Um, but like you said, we really should seek out people that are like, yeah, good on you, but what's the plan?
Yeah.
So how are you actually putting it into action?
Yeah. Cause they're pushing you and like helping you in the right direction. If you're going out with your boys every night drinking and you're like, okay, I want to start this, I got to save up money, then you would think that supportive friends will be like, okay, then don't come out because you need to start saving money.
Yeah,
Like a step in the right direction is like, we're not going to go out anymore. Because if you're going out every night spending $100 on beers, then
you're not gonna be
you're not
saving.
going to make it there. You're not going to save up that money. So you need to put these like barriers in place and be like, okay, this is what I need to do. And it's something in the moment. It's like, oh man, okay, you shouldn't come out and hang out with us anymore. You may think like they're being mean or they're shutting you down, but in hindsight, you look at it and it's like they want the best for you. And they're realizing that for you to get to your goal, you can't live this lifestyle and hit your goals. They don't align. Your current lifestyle and the dream that you have, they don't line up. You can't go out every night and do whatever you want and spend money on whatever you want and also hit your goals of because you have to be smart. You need structure. And for majority of my life, I never had structure. I did what I wanted.
Right.
Like I would wake up when I wanted, go to bed when I wanted. It's like, oh, I'll play video games for 16 hours a day. And, I'll go out to the bar with my friends. And I was just doing things like what I was going off of my feelings of like, this is what I feel like doing. And I realized, you know what, that doesn't work because you ask anyone who has amounted to any level of success. Let's say it's something as simple as I want to get in shape.
Right.
Like how many people, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel like going to the gym? You don't feel like it, but you do it. So
Yeah.
if you were to go live life off of feelings of like, I'm going to do what I feel like, then you're going to be 800 pounds living in your parents' basement.
Yeah.
Because I want a donut because I feel like it, and I don't want to go to work. I don't feel like it,
Yeah.
and so you put your feelings to the side. It's like, okay, it's not about my feelings right now. I have a goal, and how do I get to this goal? That's it, right? And so it's a way easier said than done, but that is something that I've struggled with. I've got a lot of goals, a lot of dreams. I got aspirations out here, and I went like even with it's like, okay, I want to start like a marketing company, like a video marketing company.
Yeah.
And, I love video editing. That's what I'm sticking with. But okay, I only have a phone out here. That's it. I have no money. I only have a phone. I can film things and edit things on my phone. So how am I going to do this? And walking around to a bunch of different companies and hotels and walking in and being like, hey, do you need someone to, edit videos for you for your social media? And they're all like, no, leave. Right. Like they're all
Right.
like, who the heck are you? Get out of here. And so it's tough because I went out and I did that once for one day. I went and I talked to a bunch of places and it's like, cool. You took initiative, but you got to do it again. You like, there's this illusion of I'm thinking I'm doing enough.
Right.
And you went out, you did it, you give yourself a pat on the back, and it's like, great, I made progress. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And I'm going to do it again the next day. And I'm going to do it again the next day. But I only did it once. I went out, talked to 5 companies. They all rejected me. And I never went out after that. and I never worked on anything. And I'm just, I have my landscaping gig and I'm working here at the hostel. And it's like, that's great, but you gotta keep it moving. Like, you keep taking steps. Like, don't be stagnant, because there is no such thing as being stagnant. You're either moving forward or you're moving back. And people who think that they're stagnant are just moving back. They're moving further away from their goals. And so just continuing to just take like a little step and not overthinking it and being like, okay, this is what I need to do. It's just, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to film some stuff today and I'm going to edit it together and I'm going to create an Instagram account. I'm going to create a TikTok and I'm just going to put all these content pieces on there and like build up my portfolio. And then I'm going to send it to companies so they can see it, see what I'm capable of. And it's just, it's tough because I'm saying all this in my mind, and I'm like, this is what I should do, but will I actually do it? It's tough.
It is so tough, but well, let me tell you this. And I'm not just saying that because we're recording, which doesn't help that I say that I'm only saying it because we're recording. So just like how that must have sounded. But actually, you know how I love to do my walk every single day? I walk around the town for 1 hour. Just join me on my next walk. And then you just, while I do my walk, you slip into places. That's something that we could support each other with.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you just talk to people while we're just walking through the city or the town, rather.
Yeah, I like that. That's sick. Let's go out, film some things, talk to people, make connections. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Cool. And I also like that we naturally arrive at this point because one of the last questions usually is, because we talked about the past, so I usually ask about future plans as well. But we kind of did that.
Yeah.
we kind of covered that.
Yeah. My visa as of right now, 1 year long working holiday visa till October 2025. So yeah, I don't really have the flexibility or financial situation to go anywhere else. So it's all about, all right, like as of right now, time frame, I have till October to make something work. Whether it's a business or, editing company, just making a name for myself. And what month is it?
Still January.
It's January?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's January. So what is that? That's a ways away. That's like 9 months away. Yeah. So in 9 months.
9 months.
Which is a long time, but take it like a month at a time to make progress and accomplish something. I would say, I'll say this like out loud, that I will have a company. I will have created a company and have clients by October 2025.
That's a very solid plan.
Yeah. And making marketing pieces for these companies. That's what I'll go out with.
That's an amazing plan.
Yeah.
And that it will definitely happen. I believe that. That's a good plan. Well, now if I'm going to say it, it's just going to sound sarcastic, but with love, and you don't need to answer that now on the podcast, but I'll leave you with the question, what's your plan to get there?
Yeah.
Make the plan, and then I'm definitely confident that it will happen.
Yep. For sure, man.
All right. Well, man, we've been talking for 1.5 hours.
Nice.
That just flew by.
Yeah.
So, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, sitting down, discussing all these things with us and sharing these experiences that can really be valuable to other people to hear them, and people can take stuff away from that, learn from themselves without having to go through those experiences. That's why we do it, right? So,
yeah.
So thank you, man, for doing it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is actually so fun. It was so cool. Just to
Nice.
sit down and just to open up and chat about things. It was really cool.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Nice. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the evening then, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye.